So there's a motion to pass it.
As a whole, right?
Yeah, I think you could discuss anything you wanted within that.
Okay, so she doesn't have to pull it out. Okay, Jerry.
You have to have a motion, or you can have a discussion, but you got a motion to pass, so you can discuss anything.
Any of the content. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think usually, isn't that just how it works?
For discussion. No, you're fine. Yes.
When it comes to my info on accounts and stuff, I wanted to tell people, saying, like, cheers to all kind of have a presentation on possibly creating a new job
Action items in public property and safety. He'll be giving a presentation that will be done with the hazmat suits. I'll ask you if there's anything else. Committee, and that's what's important.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Thanks. Kurt.
Okay. You want the elbow room? I want to see you tonight. I know, great. Dude, so that's good. Well, that's cool. Well, you got the end spot. I can move around. I was like that.
I go to bed, I wake up, I was in the summer and
Were you over here before?
of course I didn't see that picture because
Just so you know, heads up. We'll just hang on to it for the meeting. Carl can look at it. Carl, I have some will and trust work I'd like you to work on during the meeting if you could. Personal will and trust work. Is it a problem to squeeze it in? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
yearly basis, just the upgrade they pay. They don't send the whole upgrade. No, so it's really the same. They put the new lock, they order it to the ring, they order the
These are just our shared ease. Let you have one first.
Oh, no, thank you.
There's some stuff I got for you.
Oh, perfect.
One every,
It was in my span.
Okay.
So
Okay, good.
Mr. Clay. I looked down too quick. I wasn't sure what gesture you were giving.
I hate to do that to you.
Oh, you're okay. Yep.
It's telling me that I can't really just try. Chairman, how's your day?
Ready?
Amy, 10 seconds.
All right, we have 6:30. We're going to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ronnie Bush.
Here.
Samuel Newton.
Here.
Luann Hayes.
Here.
Casey Anthony.
Present.
William Hadley.
Here.
Jim Hart.
Here.
Kurt Copeland.
Here.
Adam Mottero.
Here.
Larry Jogers.
Here.
Brooke Deininger.
Here.
Scott Helms.
Present.
Jackie DeMeester.
Here.
Nicole Baker.
Present.
Steve Frick.
Present.
Mark Diddens.
Present.
Tim Whalen.
Here.
16 present, 0 absent.
Thank you. Mr. Jokers, would you lead the prayer? And Miss Anthony, would you lead the Pledge of Allegiance for us?
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus. Heavenly Father, in order to build up this county, we ask for your wisdom and guidance in every issue we discuss tonight. We believe we receive your wisdom because we ask for it in faith, according to James 1, 5 through 8. We thank you for helping us to see all the intended and unintended consequences of our decisions before we vote on them. We love you, Father, because you first loved us and made us ambassadors of your eternal kingdom. Blessed are those who are invited to the marriage supper of the Lamb. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would ask tonight that if everyone would please make sure that they have their microphones in front of them so that people that are participating online and through YouTube will be able to hear us all. Is there an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
By Mr. Frick, seconded by Mr. Diddens. Is there any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda. Is there anyone that has any items they'd like to have removed for discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Newton, second by Mr. Diddens. Madam Clerk, would you please read the consent agenda?
Approval of January 19, 2023 minutes.
Excuse me.
Consent agenda. Approval of February 16, 2023 minutes. Refer all claims on the clerk's desk to the proper committees without reading.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please take roll?
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes. Aye. Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Aye.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Adam Mottero.
Aye.
Mary Jogers,
No.
Brooke Deininger,
Aye.
Scott Holmes,
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester,
No.
Nicole Baker,
Aye.
Steve Frick,
Yes.
Mark Diggins,
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
Yes.
14A, 2 nay.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Public comment. Is there anyone that would like to come up and speak for public comment? If so, please state your name, and you will have 3 minutes.
No, you're gonna use the, I think you're using channel 13. No, it'll be with that. Is this working? No, it's not working. Well, it's against.
You wanna try that?
My name is Shannon Harris, and I'm the administrator of Stephenson Nursing Center until Tuesday. It has been my pleasure to serve the citizens of Stephenson County. I thank the best team I've ever had at the facility. They work long hours and take away from their personal lives to ensure our residents are taken care of. Thank you to those who navigated me through the politics of this county, Mr. Hadley, Casey Anthony, Ronnie Bush, Sam Newton, and Mr. Hilton for always being there when other board members attempted to tear me down. Thanks to Friends of Walnut Acre who ensure our residents are a priority. Thank you, TCM. You've always encouraged and guided me along the way. Your dedication and commitment doesn't go unnoticed, and I'll greatly miss you. I apologize to my son, Alec, for not attending his college graduation to stay at the facility during our annual state survey. I promise you, son, I will no longer do that for a company where I'm not appreciated. I apologize to my daughter, Sydney, for when I helped you move to college and got your first apartment. My day was interrupted daily, and I had to attend a committee meeting via Zoom on my last night with you. To those who've intimidated, harassed, and sexually harassed me, you will have to answer why you harassed me this year. EEOC complaint number 440-2023-04583. I emailed a formal complaint about a board member and asked to have a meeting. The next day, to my boss, Georgia. The next day, the board member continued his harassment by videotaping me on a cell phone during the whole committee meeting. I made a complaint against an elected official due to receiving an unpleasant text message and asked for a meeting, and nothing was done. I've been told nothing is done because they're elected officials and nothing can be done. I have many texts from a former board member saying I should come over to his hot tub and have a frozen pizza with him while he was still on this board. He came in my office numerous times, and his last visit, he informed me what he could do to me sexually. Let's not forget the comment by Mr. Garrett Miller, where he called us a boogeyman and idiot in an open board meeting. I was humiliated at my last committee meeting as the chairman took it upon himself to be transparent about a former resident via family letter. I was never asked about the validity of the letter. We were surveyed and received no deficiencies on that complaint. Regarding selling the facility, how would you guys like to wake up every day and wonder if you still have a job, or to be one of our residents and us come to your home and tell you to get out? The board's actions are unfathomable to me. If you can't treat your employees with respect and without constant harassment, no S&C administrator will last. If you're selling a facility, then you should do it. This board doesn't have the knowledge to run a facility, nor do they listen to the professionals who are hired to do so.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Edward Klein. I live just outside of Freeport. I have intense feelings of shock and distress. I'm upset, appalled, and dismayed. Why has Miss Harris been treated this way? She's been an excellent administrator for us. She's worked her butt off. This debacle with Miss Harris will probably cost our county hundreds of thousands of dollars. Attorney fees, higher costs for an interim administrator, loss of productivity at the nursing center, loss of census because of the turmoil, settlement fees, fines, higher liability insurance. And for what? There is no excuse, no rationalization, no condoning of this behavior by the leadership of this county. Let me step back. You all board members are leaders of this county. You've been elected to represent the citizens of your district. It's all up to you to rectify this situation. Ms. Harris is gone, but the leadership you elected and hired is still here. So what are you going to do? I have asked why there is such a passion to get rid of our nursing home. I've never received an answer. I wish someone would tell me. I do know that the Stephenson County Republican Party Central Committee approved a resolution to sell Walnut Acres. I was told this by a board member, and no, it wasn't Chairman Hadley. The person who told me thought the resolution was going to be signed and released to the public after being approved, but it never was released to the public. Today, there was a horrible, misleading text message sent out concerning Walnut Acres. It also was unsigned. I would have to conclude that the Stephenson County Republican Party doesn't want their views to come out into the daylight. TCM has done an amazing service for us, recovering revenue. Was that my button?
No, you may continue.
Negotiating lower fines, returning Walnut Acres to sustainability, and yet they don't feel appreciated. How could they feel appreciated? The nursing center is up for sale again, but there's not a supermajority to sell it. You don't have the votes. I'm so tired of doing this. It's been years. I'm not quitting, but it's such a complete waste of my time. It's much easier to tear something down than it is to build it up. Most of you are pretty good at tearing down. Thank you.
I can't sit, sorry. Vicki Tepfer, again. So I've been coming here for about 4 years, and tonight I have to say I am more angry than I have ever been when I've come before this board, and I'm hoping it has nothing to do with anyone involved with this board, because I'm sure you're aware of the text message that went out. Well, I got it personally. So when I posted it, someone goes, "Oh my God, that looks like your mom." So how horrible was that this person, this text that came out from somewhere, I Googled it. I'm not exactly sure the origin. I just want to know that you guys, if anybody on this board is behind this text in any way, shape, or form, I would hope that you would ask for them to be relieved of their duties, because it's malicious, it's hurtful, and for people that have residents at this facility, I'm sorry, first of all, I love my mom more than anyone, and there is no way in God's green earth that I would allow her to be mistreated, have bed bugs. Let's see, what are the other things they're saying? Abused. All these things that are allocated in this and sent out to Stephenson County residents. First of all, that makes me look like a crappy daughter, doesn't it? My mom has never been mistreated in this facility. As a matter of fact, she's been mistreated in other facilities. And when it comes to the level of staff there, you're going to have bad staff no matter where you go. I've been doing research and trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my mom if you guys close the facility. The entire nursing, CNA, nursing home situation everywhere is a, excuse my language, shit show, okay? It's not unique to where we are. I've been trying to be really nice about everything because I understand the financial information and I appreciate that. And I've never been disrespectful to anyone. And I know there's members that are no longer on this board even that have been very disrespectful to people, including myself with some of their comments. And I've tried to not be that way. But I really would appreciate if someone on this board would get to the bottom of this message, because I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I really don't care. I don't vote based on what your little flag is. I really could care less. I vote for people that have integrity, and I'm really starting to lose my faith in the ability to find people that have integrity to represent any of us anymore, because so many people just can't seem to stand behind their word, and so many people cannot be trusted. I don't know how many days my mom has left, but I'm keeping her at a facility that brought her back from near death because of the help. I didn't know about this, and I'm sorry, I can't even speak to that whole subject today. because really what I came about was this. And I am angry beyond belief about this message, and I really hope that someone in the government is going to look into this and do something about it, because I'm losing my job in a couple months, and I'm going to have a whole hell of a lot of free time. So if I find out who's behind it, I'm going to go public as heck about it. So I really hope it's nobody here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dale Diddens from here in Freeport. And what these ladies just testified to is horrible. That email sounds disgusting, and the administrator being harassed is certainly unacceptable. I just wanted to read a couple of points that I was made aware of today. At the nursing home, the vendors are not being paid and service interruptions are becoming more frequent and likely. The city of Freeport kindly requested that the last city-county meeting, that the county pay the water bill for the nursing home, which is 4.5 months past due. Comcast has threatened to shut off the cable, and a plumbing company refuses to do further work until they get paid for their outstanding bills. Menards has regulated the nursing home account to cash only. To me, when I was on the board, it was all about the money and the liability, in case Mr. Klein didn't understand that. One other quick comment. Staffing is becoming a bigger issue. The nursing home hemorrhages employees, including our most recent administrator. That's an unfortunate situation. This will not make for 6 administrators in 7 years. The interim administrator's contract proposed calculates out to $208,000 a year. There continue to be a significant payroll mistakes in the staff being paid for attendance bonuses, which they are not showing up for work. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Jerry Clay from Dakota, Illinois. It was always astonishing to me when this board received comments from the public. Lots of times we got comments from people living in Colorado, California, other states. And I thought, isn't that interesting? These people are out there living the good life, and they're sitting there telling this board, you have a responsibility to take care of our family members that are in this county yet. And it's like, now wait a minute here. They're your family members. Why aren't you back here taking care of them? Or why don't you take them to your house and take care of them? Why is it that it's the taxpayers in Stephenson County that are owed the bill for their relatives? And so this is not right that the taxpayers in Stephenson County are paying for these people to live here. It's their family that's responsible for them, and we need to put the responsibility back on the families of these people. That's not the standard that we should be living by, is that families are responsible for their members. And so the standard that I think all of us should be living by is Scripture. And in Scripture, in the book of 1 Timothy, in the New Testament, chapter 5:8, it says, quote, if there be any that provideth not for his own, and namely for them in his household, he denieth the faith and is worse than an infidel.
Time's up.
No, you still have a minute left.
That's okay. That's where I was done. That's the unquote there. But the bottom line is, this board needs to take the interest of the taxpayers in this county into factor in their decisions and say, hey, the taxpayers don't owe this bill. Let's put it back where it belongs. Thank you.
3 minutes. Want to say something?
I was wrong.
Alvin Wire, Winslow, Illinois. I'm a strong believer in Stephenson County having a nursing center. However, one must face reality. At the end of December 2018, the nursing center had a positive cash balance of $4 million. The center has since been running a negative cash flow and today owes $700,000 in bills with $164,000 in the checking account, a deficit of $500,000. The center has been asking the county to pay the monthly deficit for several months. The general fund does not have a surplus. The money will have to come from other departments' budgets, which also do not have a surplus. If the county takes money from their budgets, they will soon not be able to pay their bills. And the county has had 4 years to correct the nursing center's financial problem, during which it had hired trained people with high salaries to put the nursing home on a sound financial ground. It has not happened, and there is no reason to believe that it will. I wanted to see the nursing home succeed, but there are times in one's life when we have to accept that we are not going to get what we want. The sooner the county separates from the financial drain, the better it will be for the county.
Anyone else?
Do we have?
Go ahead.
Do we have everybody's timers synchronized? I want to make sure before I start.
Please state your name.
You already started.
All right. Well, thank you. Mr. Chairman, my name is Garrett Miller. I'm a concerned citizen of Stephenson County. Much of this conversation has always been lost in the minutia of fighting about dollars versus quality of life. And it's been framed as that because all we seem to do is talk about dollars. And the dollars are very important. We've heard about it tonight. Financially, we can't keep running this, but what is a greater concern to me, and I think should be concern for all the people in Stephenson County, is the quality of care out there. And I'm forced to come up with some kind of metric to understand that. And I think the best way I've come to do it is to look for Google reviews. And so I'd like to read one of the most recent Google reviews because I think it's rather telling. On July 9th, 2020, my father fell at 11 p.m. I got a call at 11:30 p.m. that he fell and he was bleeding all over. And did I want him to go to the hospital? I said yes. I didn't know that was optional. My father weighed 153 pounds on that day. My father went into hospice shortly thereafter. We still were able to do things. He was still able to do things himself till mid-September of 2020, when my family and I started to see a change in him. Sleeping a lot. Tables moving away from beds, no fluids in rooms, food trays on tables, but no one to help him to reach it. When called about this, I was told we are understaffed and hung up on. The staff did not wear their mask correctly or at all, no hand washing of any kind. Every day I had to call and wait and decide whether or not they would open the curtains in the windows so we could talk to him. On October 14th, I got a call telling me he had to be moved. I called the VA for help. They knew nothing about the outbreak of COVID-19. The VA moved my father and all the rest of the vets out and set up a new hospice location. When he got to the new facility, he weighed 135 pounds. We were told he had 5 bed sores, large ones on his backside. My family and I could not see him. On November 12th, 2020, my father died of apoplastic anemia. I was with him when he passed. I saw the bed sores myself. I cried for 45 minutes on the way home because I could do nothing to help him because they could not bother to treat his bed sores correctly, just use magic butt ointment. They know he was anemic. Yes, I have all the medical records, etc. To this day, every time I look at my father's flag, I cried. He served our country for 20 years in the Army. Stephenson County Nursing Center said at the time my father was admitted that they loved their vets, not so much. I bring this to your attention because this happened during my tenure on the board, and I wasn't made aware of it. And if you are to look through the other reviews, you will find recently reviews stating that people have been checking themselves out against medical advice due to the quality of care they received.
Mr.
We are
Miller,
not serving these people.
Sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you. Grandma deserves better, folks. Thank you.
Good evening, honorable board and county leaders. My name is Dr. Steve Gassel, and I'm the senior pastor of Beloved Church in Lena. I'm a minister, a family man, and a businessman in Stephenson County who chose to have his family establish roots right here. As a Christian, a patriot, a public figure, and a very aware influencer in the region, my comments are not just my own. They represent many, many other voices that would never attend a meeting like this. Walnut Acres has been a point of intense and ongoing contention for many, many years. The county government has no moral or constitutional right to make healthcare decisions affecting the lives of our elderly population, yet they do. Those choices should be left to the families and professionals in the private realm. I'm certain there is no board member here that has the training, the expertise, the medical knowledge, or healthcare facility experience to stop the current suffering at Walnut Acres. The empty votes in this chamber have not made their pain go away, but rather has probably made it worse. Now is our opportunity to humbly admit we have no right to make healthcare decisions for elderly patients. Our grandmothers deserve compassion that government can never provide. It is past time to right the past wrongs and simply apologize to Grandma and Grandpa for legislating the terrible treatment they have been suffering through. This current board has an opportunity to be the leaders who are courageous enough to do the right thing, simply because it's the right thing to do. Please liberate Walnut Acres to be managed by professionals as quickly as possible for the health and value of our elderly citizens. Be motivated by compassion and responsibility for the people who were once loved by our society. If you need additional reasoning outside of moral adherence, I implore you to then consider these points of just raw logic. Walnut Acres is obviously failing, again and still. We have subjected those innocent people to being imprisoned in a one-star facility because we arrogantly will not relinquish control. Walnut Acres does not currently have enough staff and has not had in many years. That means someone's grandma has been forced to sit in her own defecation for over 48 hours because the county, in pride, will not give up control. The VA has determined that this facility is below their treatment standards and chose years ago to reject the facility. The VA has determined Walnut Acres is well below their minimum standard of care, and we want our neighbors to put their parents there. Returning the nursing home to the professionals would return the property to the tax rolls, which would generate substantial annual revenue while increasing the standard of care for Grandma and Grandpa.
Mr. Castle, your 3 minutes are up. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Grandma deserves better.
Hi, my name is Chris Zimmerman. I'm a lifelong resident of Stephenson County. I want to start by thanking each and every one of the board members for their service to the county. I know the subject of Walnut Acres has consumed a lot of the board members' time and energy and county resources over many years. You shouldn't be making healthcare facility decisions. You should be using your time at these board meetings to maintain the county infrastructure and ensure that the residents of Stephenson County live in a safe place. The seemingly constant lawsuits, complaints, and negative press that this subject brings to our county needs to end now. This decision should not be an emotional one. It should be a simple decision because you want what is best for the residents of Walnut Acres. You should want them to be able to get the best care that is available, and right now they're not getting that care that they deserve. CMS currently rates the overall quality of this facility at 1 star. I don't think you can get any lower than that. This is pathetic. I'm of the understanding that even the VA will not place veterans at Walnut Acres due to the extremely low rating of the facility. The elderly folks, and especially our veterans of the county and the surrounding areas, deserve the best care possible, and they are not getting that care in this county-operated facility. It is also my understanding that if Walnut Acres continues to spiral its downward spiral and the state shutters the facility, it will be nearly impossible to sell it anywhere close to the reasonable offers that have been turned down in the past. I don't believe that there is anyone on the county board that actually wants to close this facility. There's been a lot of disinformation, as you all well know, that some of the county board members want to close a nursing home and put grandma out on the street. This is a lie. If a private company buys Walnut Acres, it would need the current staff and residents alike to make a cash-flowing, profitable business. And you all know private sector does a much better, more efficient job at running businesses. This facility should never have been owned by the taxpayers of Stephenson County in the first place. Please do the right thing and give the mothers, fathers, grandmas, and grandpas of Stephenson County and the surrounding areas the best care possible by privatizing Walnut Acres. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment?
My name is Laura Youngblood. I'm reading this on behalf of Terry Wellman of Freeport, Illinois. County board members, all, I am appalled at today's robo-text received below. Shame on you, shame. You obviously have no good faith position regarding Walnut Acres, and that you've now resorted to fascist fear-mongering lies and manufactured rage to stir up an emotional response from all of these constituents that you leave in the dark, obfuscating your intentions. Friends of all the parties laminate and the partisanship today of what should be nonpartisan races in this county, actions like this are the cause. Your misinformation and lies should disqualify you from office. What? You didn't send the text? To be sure, your financial benefactors footed this bill. It's clearly the Republican Party playbook. The money trail is pretty obvious.
Hi, my name is Jody Koss. It's really sad to hear the misrepresentation that it's just been spoken. I wish they would please get some current information. It's really interesting that Mike Filippo stood up there last month and gave you a report about the health of Walnut Acres. And it was a good report. They were saying that they were going to be in the black very soon. So it's also really interesting that all the Republicans are going to come out tonight and talk about how horrible Walnut Acres are. You know, what I really came to talk about was the text. The text. Good grief. So I wanted to, this is what I put on social media, but I wanted to read it into the record. Good grief. They're really getting desperate and petty, showing they are good, or showing what they're good at, spewing hate and fear. The person that was pictured is not a resident of Walnut Acres. Bed bugs are a common nuisance in all nursing homes. Walnut Acres has a certified pest control company that they work with, which is the recommended way to deal with them. It's a fact that some residents come into any of the nursing homes in our area, and they might bring these pests with them from their homes. Walnut Acres is always attentive to the potential for this happening, as I'm sure that other nursing homes also in the area are. The state inspectors were just at Walnut Acres, and they had none. I'll repeat, they had no dings against them. Again, this is coming from an unnamed source, and they're trying to turn public opinion in their favor, even if they have to lie to do it. Sound familiar? Really makes you wonder why selling this nursing home that's almost in the black is so important. Why are they doing this? Who will profit from this? Follow the money. As far as the 1 star, all nursing home gets stars for different things. Walnut Acres quality and staffing stars are very, very high. Those are the ones that matter the most. The final rating is done one time per year. Stars are averaged, and Walnut Acres stars are on the increase. Last but not least, can you imagine the employees that work at Walnut Acres? Those are our county employees. And look at how we're treating them. We have someone filing a sexual harassment suit against her. These are really despicable, horrible things to say about employees of our counties that put in every day of the week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You guys are responsible for those employees.
Casey Anthony. I really wasn't anticipating on speaking in public comment, but I'm speaking on behalf of my family. I've had my grandma at Stephenson Nursing Center. My grandpa's been at Stephenson Nursing Center twice, and they received nothing but quality care. 0 complaints. At one point, my grandma and grandpa were in there together, and the nursing home did what they could so that they could spend time together while my grandpa was recovering from knee replacement surgery while my grandma was dying. That's the kind of quality care that my family has experienced. I have a great aunt out there right now who's again receiving quality care. My family calls me all the time and doesn't even understand why the board continues to talk about this. Now, on the other hand, I have a grandma who's at a private local nursing home who's not receiving quality care. I tried to get her at Stephenson Nursing Center. Insurance, right? Can't control it. So if you're looking at a private facility, you're darn right, my grandma does deserve better. They're not showering her like they should. They have 1 nurse for 3 units. Imagine that. My grandma deserves better in a private facility. So this message that's being sent, I just felt like I had to respond as a member of my family that's had grandmas at Walnut Acres. Never had an issue there. But I have had in the private facilities in this local area. So the information, you can cherry pick information all you want. So whoever gave the information to the people who spoke today, good job. There's also a lot of other information out there. Our management company has gotten up there and they've given that information. And I really wish the public would listen to the professionals and not the politicians. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? Okay. Seeing none, next on the agenda is an update from Helios. They did present some information at the Nursing Home Committee last Thursday. I believe we have Andrew Wittenauer on. Mr. Wittenauer?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay, wonderful. As an update, we've spent the last 45 days marketing the facility on behalf of the county to prospective buyers in Illinois, the Midwest, and Wisconsin. And we're encouraged by the progress thus far, and we intend to spend the next 15 to 30 days leaving no stone unturned in our search for the best buyer for the facility, whether that be a private investor or a not-for-profit investor. We have spent an extensive amount of time locating prospective buyers and interested parties, getting them all the information that they need to determine the viability of the facility and what they may be willing to offer. We have received 1 offer. We'd like to wait to have conversations on that until the next board meeting in April, where we will present all offers and all options that have been presented thus far. And we'll be there in person to answer questions and discuss the prospective buyer or buyers and make a decision from there. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Next, we have a presentation by Joan Sage of Comcast. Thank you for coming tonight, Joan. I know it's been kind of a struggle to make all the times work, so thank you for doing
I
that
appreciate
tonight.
your patience in me coming here. We have served, it's been interesting, I did some history about cable in Stephenson County, and I was able to go back as far as 1982, which was Cablevision. And since Cablevision, Media One was a provider, then AT&T, then Insight, and now Comcast. Our current franchise goes until 2026. It was written for 10 years. And basically, in order for cable to be in any community, the FCC requires a franchise. They are usually 10 years. When cable first started, they were much longer. Now they're 10 years. And what it does is it gives cable company, no matter who the cable company is, the right to put our cable and fiber in your easements. And with that, you have the opportunity to charge a franchise fee. When it first started, 3% was the franchise fee that the county was receiving. It has increased to 5%. That is the cap that the FCC has on that. And you can notice on Comcast bills, there is a line that says franchise fee 5%. We collect that from all of your residents that are our customers on their video TV portion only. We collect that, and once a quarter, you receive whatever that amount is. We don't charge any kind of a fee to transfer those dollars, but whatever is on those bills is what you receive quarterly from us. You have the opportunity, which you take advantage of, to have a PEG channel where your all of your meetings are broadcast live, and that is something we provide to you, the broadcast space, and whatever you send to us goes out directly. A few years back, we invested quite a bit in the transmission line to make it fiber, to make sure that the signal was clear. The equipment that you have belongs to you, and it is something that you maintain, and occasionally you may have to replace that equipment. I think you're in pretty good stead right now. So that's how that part of it works. In terms of our reliability and the upgrades that we've done, back in, we all remember 2020 when COVID hit, and on, I believe it was March 16th, people went home to work, they went home for school. The usage on our network in just that month increased by 35%. And our plant remains stable. We have invested in this area. We're part of the Chicago region. We've invested, Comcast has, in 2021, over $50 million to maintain that network, to make sure that it stays reliable. Things will happen occasionally, and you know it did on January 1st, on New Year's Day, something that impacted your service here for a good portion of the day. Someone damaged our network, and we had to work to bring it back. We have people that work 24/7. We pay people to be on call to make sure that we can maintain that network. When a storm happens, things happen. ComEd goes in and takes care of things first. We have to wait till they're done before we can go in and maintain our network. So, and if you ever have questions about anything, please feel free to give me a call. I've left for each of you at your desks 2 things: my business card with my cell phone, so that if there is something that you have a question about, please feel free to contact me. And I respond within 24 hours. I have 47 communities now, so I'm on the road quite a bit, but I'm here to serve you. So please do take advantage of that. One last thing I would like to mention, and that is this flyer talks about a program that Comcast started 12 years ago called Internet Essentials. And this is where income-constrained individuals can receive our internet at a very reduced cost. The cost 12 years ago was $9.95 for 6/1. Over time, we have increased that, especially with COVID. Now we are up to, for $9.95, 50/10 for speed. We've added Internet Essentials Plus, which is 100/20. That's $29.95, and that will take care of a lot of different devices so that kids and their parents can all take advantage of this. Now, in addition to that, something that's very special now is that the federal government has a program called the Affordable Connectivity Program, or ACP. That gives a $30 per month credit to folks that are income constrained. It's everyone's wants to get rid of that digital divide. We want to bridge that. We all know, and certainly COVID proved, that the internet is essential to life these days. And people are working still from home, and people still get education from home. The school district signed a contract with us where before the ACP, they were paying for folks that could not afford even the $9.95. The school district was picking that up. So we've been partners with them. So that's kind of that's quite a bit in a nutshell. If you have questions about it, I know you're going to be here for a while yet. So if you have questions, please feel free to contact me either via email or phone. If you have questions right now, I'll take those, but if not, just feel free to contact me at any time with any questions that you may have. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
And Joan, thank you very much for coming
My pleasure.
again.
Thank you.
We have a really good working relationship with you and Comcast, and I appreciate that. And with the addition of Mr. Louie, I'm confident that our broadcast for county board meetings will be much, much better.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next we have the zoning report. Ms. Henning, would you be willing to come up, please?
Hi, everyone. Thursday, March 9th, 2023, the Zoning Board of Appeals met with a full quorum. The first hearing was for Yuri Dobrowolski and Jennifer Hockensmith. They are requesting a special use to allow for a single-family dwelling and a short-term rental located at 6500 Kermit Road. Testimony was given, and with a voice vote of 3-0, the ZBA recommends approval by this board without conditions.
Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
By Mr. Whalen, is there a second? By Mr. Bush, is there any discussion? Mrs. DeMeester?
I was wondering, is there a requirement for a 10-foot fence to be on their property, considering there's some ponds?
There is
on
not
neighbors?
a requirement. The Zoning Board of Appeals did not put that requirement in. This board can.
Can I have it moved that it go back to zoning?
You can put the requirement in for a fence if you so choose at this meeting.
Oh, can?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I think that's pretty important when there's a pond on the other side. I know how somebody might
They
wander off
discussed
the
that
other
at the
property.
hearing. Mr. Dobrowski did state he was going to put up signage stating property boundaries, things like that. And yes, it doesn't keep children out.
No.
So that was a concern.
So I move that we put that in it.
I'll second that.
Okay, so there is a motion to amend, to add, can you?
A 10-foot fence, their property, so.
That's a little high. Our regulations are 7 in the county. A 7-foot fence, normally it would be in that area. It's a very highly wooded area and they want to keep it wooded.
Okay.
They don't want to disrupt the landscape very much. So if he were going to do a fence, it would have been more like a farm fence with the, what is that, Steve? I can't think at the moment. Yes, like a barbed wire fence type.
That's gonna keep somebody from going over.
My opinion, if you want to climb a fence, they'll climb a fence no matter
Yes.
how high it is. But you can put in whatever you'd like.
So it is okay, even though 7 foot is in code, to do a 10 foot?
Yes, if that's what the board decides,
All right,
yes.
so there's a motion to add a 10-foot fence, seconded by Mr. Hart. Is there any discussion, further discussion on the amendment?
I'll make a comment.
Mr. Diddens?
I guess I would prefer the barbed wire fence, because I can imagine going through the woods, you'd have to clear a tremendous amount of woods to get a wooden fence.
Correct.
Even a 4-foot wooden fence, but barbed wire, you could go, you could kind of meander around the trees
Right.
and things, and you can disrupt a lot of woods going with a wooden fence. So I'll vote no on this amendment.
He did also, if I may, suggest planting a bunch of barberry bushes type that they can't get through. There's already a lot of undergrowth that is already prickly as it is on that parcel. So the vegetation around the property line really isn't accessible as it is.
Mhm. In fact, can I move to amend the amendment? Is that a thing?
I believe so. Unless.
I suppose, yeah. So I'll make a motion to amend then to make it a barbed wire fence, like whatever would be appropriate, 4-foot barbed wire fence.
Okay.
Okay.
A point of order.
Mr. Hadley.
You have an amendment on the floor at this time. You cannot do an amendment on an amendment. You have to vote on this amendment and then another amendment. I believe so. All right. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion on the original amendment before we move forward? Mr. Frick?
I guess I wasn't clear. The original amendment was a 10-foot wooden fence or just a 10-foot fence?
I don't believe that the structure, the consistency of the fence was mentioned in the motion.
Okay, that's what just wanted to make sure. They said a fence.
Looks like under Robert's Rules of Order, first order amendments can be amended by second order amendments. However, the limit is that second order amendments may not be amended because it would be too complicated.
So we have a second.
Second
amendment.
What are we seconding at this
We have
point?
to vote on the second amendment first.
Of what height?
We have an amendment to an amendment.
4 foot.
4-foot
Second.
barbed wire.
Barbed wire
Could I just
fence.
specify my motion?
Yes, please.
4-foot barbed wire fence. We don't have a length. Do we have a length on how long this fence needs to be? Because somebody,
This property is 12 acres, I believe.
That's a long fence.
we don't know how long that length is.
Right, no, we do not.
But
You
so
could
specifically, it would be a 4-foot barbed wire fence along the, entire property line that adjoins those two properties.
Right.
Mr. Copley, is that what your second is based on?
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion on the Second Amendment? Is everyone clear what the Second Amendment is?
May I think I'm clear. The 4-foot barbed wire fence of indeterminate length at this point, right?
The length is the whole entire property line that adjoins those two properties.
So it would be 12 acres of whatever that distance is? So
Well,
it's
it's
12
a
acre lot.
12 acre lot, so it depends on
Distance would be.
how big it is square.
The adjoining.
Okay. I guess I'm just thinking, I'm not sure there's a point in a 4-foot fence. It doesn't achieve what I think Mr. Meester was trying to convey, which was something that would actually keep children and people away from the pond. My own opinion would be, if we're not going to do that, why make them put a fence in at all? That's the only singular purpose of the fence. That would be my opinion, Jackie.
May I interject?
Please.
With a 10-foot fence, depending on what type of fence, they still want to keep the nature, the animals to come onto the parcel, the deer, the squirrels, rabbits, anything that may come onto the parcel. And with a 10-foot fence, depending on what that is, if it's a barbed wire fence 10 foot tall, you're going to have the deer jumping into it possibly. If it's a solid fence, they won't be able to get onto the parcel. And I just don't think a 10-foot fence would be suitable for this site. The home is to the northern portion and the cabins would be to the southern portion as well, just to get that out there. But with the amendment, this board makes those decisions.
Ms. Steininger.
May I ask what she'd recommend, because she's familiar with the property, or am I out of line?
Myself, honestly, I would not recommend a fence. The way the property is set up, the home would be a boundary and there is a lot of landscaping in the back. They do want to clear it some, but they have spoke to leaving the brambles and things like that as a boundary, putting up signs, things like that. I wouldn't personally.
Okay.
But they are having,
Thank you.
they're doing short-term rentals, right? So they're
Correct.
gonna have a,
They're
I
going
guess
to
I'm
be-
not so much worried about the animals as I am the children.
Right. I know, I understand. The cabins themselves are only about 350 to 400 square feet, so they're only gonna house a couple adults, or maybe one
Go ahead.
one parent and a child. So, and I do understand your concern. The adjacent landowner was concerned as well. I think with the Mr. Uri and Ms. Jennifer, they think leaving the brambles and such and the signage but it's totally the board's decision.
Ms. Steininger, is your comment or question on the Second Amendment?
No, it's a comment on the Second Amendment.
Okay.
If anyone's been anywhere by this property, they know that from the road, unless those people are taking their children there would be absolutely no way that any children, unless they were driving on the side of the road in a car, would even be in the area. So I do not feel as though a fence would even be necessary. If a parent is taking their underage child there, then I would think the parent would be responsible to watch their children from the pond. So in my mind, I agree with the landowner that we should not require a fence at all. Thank you.
Mrs. Hayes?
My comment would be that a solid fence, a 10-foot solid fence, is a privacy issue, not a restraining issue. Those types of fences you see in the city when your property is right next to a parking lot, per se. That is when privacy becomes an issue. There's no privacy issues here. I would agree that what's the other type? Barbed wire. Yeah, barbed wire. The barbed wire fence would suffice for this.
All right, any other discussion or questions on the Second Amendment of the 4-foot high barbed wire fence? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call roll on the Second Amendment.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
No.
Samuel Newton.
No.
Luann Hayes.
Yes.
Casey Anthony.
No.
William Hadley.
No.
Jim Hart. Kirk Copeland.
Yes.
Adam Modero.
No.
Larry Jokers.
No.
Brooke Deininger.
No.
Scott Helms.
No.
Jackie DeMeester.
Yes.
Nicole Baker.
No.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
Five A, 10 nay.
Okay, so the Second Amendment does not pass. We're back to the First Amendment, which was made by Ms. DeMeester and seconded by Mr. Hart for a 10-foot tall fence. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take roll on the amendment only.
Jackie DeMeester.
Yes.
Nicole Baker.
No.
Steve Frick.
No.
Mark Diddens.
No.
Tim Whalen.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
No.
Samuel Newton.
No.
Luann Hayes.
No.
Casey Anthony.
No.
William Hadley.
No.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kirk Copeland.
No.
Adam Modero.
No.
Larry Jokers.
No.
Brooke Deininger.
No.
Scott Holmes.
No.
2A, 14 nay.
Okay, that amendment also fails, and we are back to the original motion to approve as presented. Is there any further discussion on that? Madam Clerk, please call roll. Oh, Mr. Frick?
I just have one concern. As a landowner too, and a landowner that has property that attracts people, we are doing nothing to help the adjacent landowner, and I'm disappointed with that. That's all.
Care to make an amendment? No. Please call roll.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead, Mr. Hart.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Could you explain your comment?
The adjoining landowner has ponds on his property, and we're approving tonight rental buildings to be placed on this property with people.
Right.
And people like to go to where they shouldn't. And a pond is something they shouldn't go to, but they do.
Correct.
And his pond is already there, and we're laying an unnecessary liability on the adjacent landowner by not doing something to protect him as well.
What could we do?
A fence.
Well, we just voted on that, though, right? Or do I not understand?
I don't know.
There was an amendment that did not pass, 2 amendments for fences.
Right.
Okay, we'll move on. Mr. Copleen?
Yes, a possible maybe solution is have $1 million worth of liability insurance on the person who wants to build the property for the pond owner. I'd make an amendment for that.
You're making a motion to amend to do what specifically, please?
For the requested builder, get a policy from the pond owner of $1 million that he pays the premiums for.
Can you be more specific?
That won't be possible.
Just a minute, please. Can you be more specific on what type of policy you're looking for?
Liability insurance umbrella.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? Seeing none, that motion fails. Any further discussion on this? Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Tim Whalen.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yay.
Kirk Copleen.
No.
Adam Otero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
No.
Brooke Deininger.
Maybe.
Yes or no, please?
Brooke Deininger.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
No.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
No.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Twelve A, 4 nay.
And that passes. Ms. Henning, your second item.
The final hearing for the evening was for Illinois Solar 9000 LLC. They're requesting a special use to allow for a 5 megawatt solar generating plant located at Illinois 75 East. This is just west of the co-op on 75 before Rock City. Testimony was given, and with a voice vote of 3-0, the ZBA recommends approval by this board without conditions.
Is there a motion to approve by Mr. Newton? Is there a second?
Second.
By Ms. Deininger. Is there any discussion on this? Sorry, I didn't see your button pushed.
Sorry, I guess I could have done that.
Mr. Frick.
I just have some questions. We've approved about 50 of these in the county. What is the likelihood of this ever taking place?
50-50.
Because it has to go through the state lottery process.
It's not a lottery anymore, it's a point system.
Okay.
So it has to go through the point system and the next session, which the session right now is closed. So I'm not sure when they'll open up the next session, but we will be seeing many more that we will have to approve.
Did we have any in Stephenson County approved in other than the 7 that we've had?
Yes, I have 8 or 9 more that are talking to me about building permits currently.
Anything else, Mr. Frick?
No, thank you.
Mr. Whalen?
This is currently farmland.
Yes.
Do we know do we take a land score?
Yes, we do. I don't have that with me. It is low production for cropland.
Okay.
Yeah, very low. And it's only a portion of the site. It's not the entire field.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony. Aye. William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kirk Copeland.
Yes.
Adam Matero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
No.
Brooke Deininger.
Yes.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
No.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
No.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Twelve A, 4 nay.
Okay, that passes. Anything else, Ms. Henning?
That is it.
All right, thank you very much. We have no more, we have no unfinished business. We'll move on to the chairman report, and I'll try to be brief. Mr. Diddens, could you come up to the lectern for me?
Okay.
You'd be surprised how many times I hear that in a day. As some of you may or may not know, Mr. Diddens is resigning from the board effective tomorrow. Mark was, I believe that's right?
That's
Mark?
true.
Yeah. Mark was elected to the board and seated in 2012. In that time, he has served as chairman of court services, public property and safety, and public works. Mark was also my vice chair for finance for a number of years and was instrumental in helping craft budgets, getting us through a crisis, I believe, in 2019, and also helped a tremendous amount when I wanted to take on the daunting task of switching health insurance. That was something the entire board did, but as I said, Mark was instrumental with that. You've been an asset to Stephenson County, and I appreciate all your contributions. And on behalf of the board, I'd like to present this to you in appreciation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I didn't prepare a statement or anything, but if I had to choose a last meeting, this was a good one, huh? But anyway, it's been my honor to serve the constituents of Stephenson County for 10 years, so I appreciate the opportunity. Carl, thank you for everything. It's nice working with you. Good working with you. Thank you.
So next month's board meeting, we will have a vacancy that will be brought forward from Mark's district. The final thing I have for the chairman's report was when I first took over as chairman in December. One of the first things I wanted to do was talk to Sheriff Stovall regarding the opioid settlement funds that Attorney Larson included the county on a class action lawsuit a number of years ago. We were fortunate enough to get approximately $60,000 in funds. Those funds can be used for very specific purposes. So I did ask Sheriff Stovall to put his thinking cap on and come up with a really good solution to use these funds in the best way possible. After Mr. Copeland has completed his public property and safety report and action items, Sheriff Stovall will be giving a brief report on what he would like to do with these funds. Any questions? Okay.
Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Hadley.
Yes, last month you said a couple of things, and I wanted to clarify it with you. And so you mentioned something about UCCI last month, and since we have a lot of new board members, they don't understand how it functions. And I talked to Mr. Newton about it, and he clarified through the executive board. But Mr. Newton sits on the executive board of UCCI, and we get actually a benefit by him sitting on the board of UCCI. his hotel room is taken care of by UCCI, and his mileage is taken care of by UCCI. Also, on top of that, when he attends a meeting of just the regular board down there, that we get a $400 stipend for attending. Now, that $400 is supposed to be used for the simple purpose of if additional board members would like to attend that meeting, there's a $400 stipend that Mr. Newton doesn't even use that comes back to the county. And I just wanted to clarify, I know that leads me into the next thing was protocol of going to these meetings or these things. You made the mention last month that we're going to follow the same protocol, but you didn't tell the board what that protocol was. And as county board chairman for 10 years, and Mr. Bloom before me was, and I just want to verify that we used to make announcements in the chairman's report that there's events coming up at UCCI or an association of county board members, and that if you're interested in going, you just get a hold of the county administrator or myself, and we would make the reservations, because we know a lot of you board members work full-time. You don't have time to make hotel reservations and put it on your credit card. So we just go ahead and we would make the reservations with the county credit card, and then we would call Connie and make the reservations and make everything so simple for the board. So that was the protocol for 20 years. And you mentioned the protocol in February that you wanted to follow the same. So in January, I didn't know what the protocol was. So in January, I went to an event, educational seminar, and you even told when you became chairman that you were hoping that Mr. Newton and Mr. Hadley would keep their connections in Springfield. And doing that, I went down to Springfield in January to attend, and they reimbursed the county for my mileage, and they reimbursed for my hotel room that I put on my county credit card. So since I know the policy now, that we got to get a hold of you to let you know what's going on, and hopefully you're going to make the reservations and do what we did for the last 20 years. But I still haven't got paid Chairman Helms, and I would really appreciate if I would get paid, because I know that you sure get paid for yourself when you made trips in January, and all I want to do is just get paid, and I would be a happy camper, and then from there, we'll know what your protocol is. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman Helms, for your time.
Yeah, and actually, Mr. Hadley, I've reached out to you several times to try to discuss that with you, and not getting any response. So would you be willing to speak to me after the meeting?
Yeah, due to health issues, I haven't been able to meet with you, but if I meet with you, Chairman Helms, I would like somebody present that's neutral, like Chairman, Mr. Larson. I just don't trust being around you at this time, Chairman. And that's sad.
Anyone else? Okay, we will move on to appointments. Madam Clerk, could you please read those appointments?
Appointments. Approval of the appointment of Martin Bearwaltz to the Otter Creek Lake Utility District.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
By Mr. Bush. Is there a second? By Mr. Frick. Is there any discussion on that appointment? Mr. Hart? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. I didn't even press the button.
Well, I saw you reaching in.
I'm just curious, A, what it is, and B, who it is.
So the Otter Creek Lake Utility District is exactly that, for Otter Creek. The appointments are made through the county board. They have their own board. We don't have any say in who they bring forward, only yes or no. The information, I believe, was in the packet.
It's just a creek?
That's a utility, I believe.
A utility, okay.
Yeah, I believe inside of the packet, it included a recommendation, and he has previously been on the board, so it's just a reappointment to him.
Are there others? Okay, I'm done.
Anything else, Mr. Hart?
No, that's it.
Anyone else? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next appointment, please.
Approval of the appointment of Nicole Baker to ETSB 911 Board.
Is there a motion to approve by Mr. Whalen? Is there a second? Mr. Jogerst. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to finance and Mr. Whalen.
Mr. Chairman, we have a couple items tonight. One is the approval of sale of a surplus property. I have a resolution before me. I'll read briefly. Whereas the County of Stephenson, as trustee for the taxing districts herein, has undertaken a program to collect delinquent taxes and to perform titles to real property in cases in which the taxes on such real property have not been paid pursuant to 35 ILCS 200/2190, and whereas pursuant to this program, the County of Stephenson, as trustee for the taxing districts therein, has acquired an interest in the following described real estate. Lot 2, I'm not going to read that whole thing, but it's parcel 1814323010007, which was sold on October 31st, 2019, commonly known as 527 East Iroquois Street. The total amount due for this sale was $3,039.37. The redemption reconveyance party has only paid $1,220 towards that. After several attempts to collect the balance, the Finance Committee feels that the above-mentioned party has defaulted on the contract and the funds collected should be dispersed. Whereas your Finance Committee recommends the adoption of the following resolution: be it resolved by the County Board of Stephenson County, Illinois, that the sum paid under the defaulted contract for redemption reconveyance be distributed as follows: $0 paid to the county clerk to reimburse the revolving account and the charges advanced from this account. $448.90 is to be paid to the agent for his services under the contract, and the balance of $771.10 shall be paid to the treasurer of Stephenson County, Illinois, to be dispersed according to law. This resolution is to be effective 60 days from the date, and any transaction between the above parties not occurring within this period shall be null and void. And I would so move that this be adopted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Coplain. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. Okay, thank you. Your second item, please.
Secondly, Mr. Chairman, we ask that the board, after unanimously approving of the Finance Committee members, a move of the time of meeting from 5:30 p.m. on Mondays to 6 o'clock p.m. on Mondays prior to the county board meeting each month.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve? By Ms. Deininger. Is there a second? By Mr. Whalen. So just for clarification, this is the same normal meeting schedule, just the chime is being changed.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any other items out of your committee, Mr. Whalen?
If I can just make a comment, Mr. Chairman, after hearing all the public comment back and forth on the nursing center, I will just say that it has been an interesting discussion over the years. As I was part of this board back in 2004, 5, and 6, we were discussing the same exact things. And I should have probably followed up during public comment, but as Ms. Anthony said, she has had a good experience with Walnut Acres, and I myself am sitting here tonight because of an experience I have had to come back and take care of elderly grandparents. I think I explained that to this board previously. And they're out at Liberty Village, which I also had a very good experience with. It's very anecdotal to look at this thing on a case-by-case basis, right? Very anecdotal. The fact that we have had to hire a management company to take care of this for us, I think is a big deal. And since I got on this board last December, and thinking about this as I've meandered through the Nursing Center Committee and the discussions we've had. I found it interesting that Miss Anthony herself made a comment after our last committee meeting in the public comment time around the fact that, and I don't mean to misquote you.
Mr. Whalen, I'm sorry, is there anything else out of finance?
Well, this impacts finance. I guess that's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Ultimately, she made the comment about the fact that we're not professionals to be able to manage this institution. And I think that's part of what plays into this whole thing. We've hired a management company that's costing the county thousands of dollars a month extra to try and manage this facility. When in reality, if we did turn that over to the private sector, I think it would be managed a lot better. And it would save the county quite a bit of money in the process. So anyway, I thank her for her comments the other night. That's all.
All right, thank you.
May I speak to that, Mr. Chairman?
Point of order.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to go in a back and forth regarding the nursing center on that, so would you mind bringing it up during the nursing report?
Sure.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Copleen, Public Property and Safety, you have a few action items.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First off, I have a resolution proclaiming the week of April 9th to 15th, 2023 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. I know more than anybody in this room, except for maybe Sheriff Stowell, what kind of job that they do. They don't receive enough recognition. They're the first in line to give information to first responders. There's quite a bit of stress. They multitask. They calm the public down while being calm. And it takes a special person to do the job. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution.
Is there a second? By Mr. Jokers. Is there any discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. One nay. Motion passes. Your second item, Mr. Copleen?
Yes, EMA Director Scott Townsend presented the committee with to approve 2 hazmat suits in the amount of $4,902.65. They test every year the integrity and make sure they're working all the suits. There's about 10 suits, and there's no more money in the fire chief's fund that has to be refunded by increasing the amount of money put into it every year. They usually take care of this, but the Freeport City is going to buy 2, and he would like us to purchase 2, and there is money in the budget for Mr. Townsend to do so. And I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of 2 Frontline 500 vapor total encapsulating suits.
All right, motion by Mr. Copleen, seconded by Mr. Jokers. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Any other information of your committee, Mr. Copleen?
None at this time. I'd like to ask Sheriff Stowell to come to the front and present a possible addition to the Sheriff's Department.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman, for having this opportunity tonight. Before I start, I would like to introduce some key people that I brought with me tonight. And knowing these people, they are the experts and the leaders of their individuals' resources, and I am excited to be working with them. In no particular order, I have from Voices, Beth Maskell. I have from FHN Family Counseling Center, Alice Amro. And I have from Master Builders Men's Program, Pastor Mike Sowell. And I have from the Public Defender's Office, the Public Defender, Byron Sloan. Thank all of you for being here tonight. I presented to the Public Safety Committee on March 7th, 2023. I explained how I was given a question by Chairman Scott Helm in December. That question was simply, what would you do if you had funds from opioid money, and if so, what would you do with it and how would you use it in the fight against opioid addiction? I stand here in front of you embarrassed to admit I reverted back to our automatic thought of purchasing a supply of Narcan, purchase a supply of withdrawal drugs that would help at the jail, and how about the possibility of training? You know, the typical solutions to the opioid problems that the way that it's understood by law enforcement. As the chairman and I spoke, I thought to myself, there has to be something I'm missing. Narcan is not solving the problem. I asked Chairman Helms for 10 days so I could gather some information so I could give him an educated answer. Soon I stumbled onto a solution to a question that was not asked. My 10 days turned into 60-some days, and I found myself putting a plan together for something more than just spending opioid money for addiction. I informed Chairman Helms that I was onto something. He advised me, please give me a very detailed plan of how you're going to come up with this. You have a letter in front of you with many of the details from this idea. I don't want to take up all of your evening with this idea. I'll get to the high points. I would like to read an excerpt from that letter. I am writing you this letter to propose a plan that I believe will help bridge a gap in services and enhance public safety for all Stephenson County. Throughout my 30-plus year career in law enforcement, I have experienced firsthand a lack of available resources in our area to address mental health, opioid use, substance use disorder, survivor witness victim assistance, real-time crisis interdiction, jail mental health, substance abuse assistance, and officer deputy wellness. I believe that right now we are at a crossroads in this country with addressing these issues. If we do not take the initiative to start addressing them, we are doing a disservice to the future generations. It is also clear to me that these tragedies are not going to be solved at the state or even national level, which leaves it up to us. We at the local level must make the difference. During my research, I realized that the process and procedures used in Stephenson County are insufficient and bogged down. I went to the next step and spoke to the decision makers at various resources and asked them what we were lacking in connecting people in need with resources they needed. Not in a timely manner, but immediately. A very simple response kept surfacing. These people fall through the cracks every day. Subject in crisis, whether law-abiding citizens, defendants, victims, survivors, subjects with substance abuse disorders, or law enforcement in crisis. These people are being lost in the system, and that is unacceptable. I ask, why is this happening, and how can I help? As one of my excerpts reads, I have experienced firsthand a lack of available resources in our area. We are not lacking the resources. We are lacking the available resources. Keyword available. We need a person that can make these resources available immediately. We need a person to file paperwork, make calls, assist with writing applications, arrange transportation, find medical providers, find shelter, find food, understand this system and how the law works. This list goes on, and it does not even include responsibilities that we haven't even thought of yet. The resource is not available if I can't speak to someone. The resource is not available if I can't fill out the application. The resource is not available if I can't get to my appointment due to a lack of transportation. Resources are usually sought out by persons in crisis or by family members directing their loved ones to the resource. Law enforcement and its partners rely on the judicial system to find these resources. I can't truthfully say that this system is broken because I don't think there is a system. Of course, we have procedures that we go through to get persons in crisis help, but without follow-up, tracking, or monitoring court orders, people fall through the cracks. By the time we realize what had happened, the person has committed a new crime only to be judged as a repeat offender. The judicial system is where most that are in need are lost. Mental health and substance abuse disorders lead to criminal activity, but not in all cases does the individual require incarceration. They need professional help. Unfortunately, law enforcement across the country is the first line of recognition. We do not possess the expertise, knowledge, or manpower to assist these individuals throughout their process. Yes, we can hand out paper, give phone numbers, or in some cases, give referrals. But that's the end. There is no follow-up, not because we don't care, not because we don't see the crisis. We are not equipped to understand the routes needed to be taken to start the help process. We lack the 7-day-a-week availability of an expert, therefore guidance for both law enforcement and the individual. I am proposing a program that employs an expert in the field of social work and is a civilian employee of the sheriff's office. Having a civilian in this position will erase the barriers that oftentimes are created due to a person's past experience with dealing with law enforcement. This person will manage many gaps that are wide and deep and connect the citizens with the proper groups, manage their progress, and proactively direct these citizens in a direction of healing instead of embarrassment or having a feeling of being lost or alone while trying to navigate this process. If Stephenson County had an expert that understood the situation of a person in crisis and is able to immediately give guidance to their needs, I truly believe people's lives would have a chance to turn around. In the packet with the letter, I have a detailed job description along with other important information the board may need while deciding on this program. To implement this program in our county, I am requesting funding for the creation of a new position at the Stephenson County Sheriff's Office, a social service administrator. This position will be for the first time put county law enforcement and social workers together to fight the widespread crisis that affects families and communities every day. I firmly believe this collaboration will better equip the Sheriff's Office to serve our citizens and keep people out of jails and emergency rooms. To make this program viable long-term, my office will be proactively seeking grants to fund it. To accomplish this, we will ensure that the person hired receives training in grant writing. The grants we will seek to secure will be those to provide funding for wages, training, and operating expenses. We will avoid matching grants if at all possible. At this time, I would like to ask Public Defender Byron Sloan to step up. Last week, while he's on his way up, one of Byron Sloan's assistants, Travis Lutz, came into my office with a fairly large problem. That problem was an inmate that had fallen through the cracks. This is the Public Defender's story.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Byron Sloan. I'm the county's public defender. Chairman Holmes. I believe the most difficult problem we deal with in the criminal justice system is that of mentally ill criminal defendants. And what I'm speaking to is only a small section of what Sheriff Stovall's program seeks to accomplish. But the mentally ill is a problem that we just aren't designed to deal with. And we have to deal with it because the state has shut down most all state-run mental health facilities. So people who are mentally ill and cannot comply with the law end up in our jails. And our jails are not mental health treatment centers. Our courthouses are not equipped with the way we function with the concepts of ascertaining fault, punishing the offender, holding people accountable. These concepts really don't apply neatly to a person who is mentally ill. So what we do, and this is what happened with the situation Sheriff Stovall was referring to, is a person comes into the jail because they are mentally ill and they can't comply with the law. So they typically have no prescription. In fact, almost always they have not been prescribed for a while. And they just go in jail, and there's just a gap there is the best word that I think Sheriff Stovall's been using. There's just a gap there where We're just not designed to function with that. So they come to court and we realize they're unfit. They're mentally unfit to face their charges. So we file a fitness motion, a mental fitness motion. If a clinical psychiatrist and a judge agrees with us, psychologist I should say, then that person is sent to the Department of Human Services where they receive help restoring them to mental fitness, and then they come back and face their charges. This is not a process where a person's found guilty or innocent or they get off because of insanity or something like that. This is merely to restore a person to a marginal level of mental fitness where they can face their charges. So this lady had came in, I shouldn't identify her, but she was mentally ill. A judge agreed with us as well as a clinical psychologist, so she was ordered committed to the Department of Human Services. And this is where there's a gap because DHS, and you might have heard of some of the lawsuits downstate, where these people who are committed to DHS are just, they're languishing. It's months before they get into the facility. So they sit in our jail, and they're in segregation, and they deteriorate. And they begin exhibiting extreme behavior, the worst you could most graphic things you could imagine while confined in a jail cell. And it just gets worse until finally DHS can get a bed open and take them in. This person would be a person to, as soon as they come in, they could see if they need meds. They could start coordinating mental health services, which we have none now. I mean, Sheriff Stovall's right. It's not like the system's broken. We don't have a social service system now. And when that person ultimately gets to the point where, yes, you're going to go and to a mental health facility, to DHS, now we just got to wait for a bed. They do something besides rot and say. They have some counseling. They get some medication. There's something that they can be tended to, which now we don't have. So this lady, the judge found that she agreed that she was not fit to stand trial and committed her Department of Human Services. She's sitting in the jail waiting for it, and she bonds out. We missed it. People who are committed to Department of Human Services should not be allowed out of custody. So we got a lady who's been found unfit out in the public. Unfortunately, nothing bad happened. Fortunately, what happened is she came in to her next court date. The judge says you got to go in custody because we're going to take you to DHS, and she complied. That's rare. I mean, this story had a happy ending, which is pretty rare given the gap, given our error. And we need a person to keep track of this. We need a person to come back to the jail after this hearing and make a mark, whatever process it takes to say, this person is off the bond call. They can't bond out. We're now waiting for a DHS bed. Let's get hold of DHS and see how quickly that's going to be. Let's work to get them in. In the meanwhile, let's work with them to try to take care of them the best they can so they're not harming themselves and tearing up the place in the meanwhile. I've said enough, but I was overwhelmed with support for this measure. This is not the type of measure that I have seen in the past, and I fully support it. The members that are with me tonight do also, members of the community and our medical and psychological staff. I hope you do too. Thank you.
You'll have to apologize. He's a public defender. He can't stop talking. Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Without that quick response of the public defender's office of Mr. Lutz notifying me, this could have gone a different way. And just the one part that you need to know, if this person wouldn't have come back to court on that day, their bed was ready at 12 o'clock that day. We had to be there between 12 and 2. If we didn't have her in custody, that bed goes to number 2. We have to hold her in jail till the next bed. At this time, I would entertain any questions or whatever you would like to do. If there's anything in particular, I've brought the experts that can answer those questions. Let me make one quick, I'm going to go off script here just for a little bit. The first question I will have that maybe all of you have was, give me an example of how this would actually help. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If all of you remember, there was a bad accident on 20 by Lily Creek about 2 months back. It affected a lot of people. When I say it affected a lot of people, this person that we we are looking for would have enough work for 3 months with just this one incident. We had at least 8 deputies out there. We had 10 firefighters out there. We had 3 people from the coroner's office out there. We had the families of both. There were young children that witnessed this. We have a lot of healing to start. We had a lot of helping to start the process with. That incident alone, this person would have to do a lot of follow-up to make sure that these people were getting the care that they needed. So it's not just one-on-one. It's not just about drug addiction. It's not just about mental health. It's about anything that we can't even think of yet. If there's going to be a need in this community, anywhere in Stephenson County, if someone is in crisis, no matter what the cause, whatever the reasoning is, I want to have a person that can respond, or at least one of our officers or someone from an office can call and say, what can we do? And they will already have done this several times and be very experienced.
All right, Mr. Stoll, we ready for some questions? Mr. Hadley.
I just want to make a couple comments. Sheriff, I commend you on this 100%. As you know, 30 years of experience with the Illinois Department of Corrections, retired shift sergeant. We were warehousing mental health in the Illinois Department of Corrections, and it got to be a big problem because none of the correctional officers or staff was trained in that field. Towards the end of my career, they started sending people that would volunteer to be crisis intervention on shift, and then they would be utilized when there was a crisis. Then they would call the psych doctor on call, and either we could restrain them, but then we had to rotate the restraints every 4 hours. The sergeant would have to be there, but we had crisis intervention training, and hopefully your correctional officers could go to these special schools. I think the Illinois Department of Corrections puts one on. I'm not too sure. They've been out of the circulation for a while, but this is very important. With years of abuse by Republican and Democrat governors, just not one party. They've been closing mental health facilities. We need to reopen these mental health facilities because it is a huge problem in the county jails. And like I said, I commend you. Sure like to sit down and talk to you, give you some ideas, because I notice now that they're doing a lot of, when somebody does have a psych problem, they put the person in the room, and then long distance, there's a psych doctor out in New York that does the interview and orders blood samples and stuff like that. That's something new that they're trying. They're even doing that up at the VA. Give you one quick true story here. One day, the shift commander wanted to know if I wanted to work overtime, and I said, sure. He says, well, this guy maxed out. He has mental health problems. I said, what do you want me to do with him? He says, you just take him back to the county and drop him off in front of the Freeport, not the Freeport Police Department, but in front of the police department. I said, okay. And this guy had serious mental health problems. And that's all we can do is when they max out, instead of taking them to a mental facility, we just drop them off on the street. And that's a true story. So thank you, and I commend you. Thank you.
Miss Anthony.
Thank you. Have you gotten any kind of clarification to ensure that this qualifies for what the opioid settlement is approved, what the approved abatement programs are?
If I personally look, no, that'll be up to the chairman.
When I'm looking at it, the job description, I'm not so sure meets the criteria, just to clarify.
Well, as I stated, the job description is very brief. It's about things that we don't even know yet. So if we've got that person that's able to have access to the jail, and we have an opioid situation, and they're able to log Narcan, and they're able to log withdrawal protocols, that I believe would fall underneath that.
Were you given the information for what approved abatement programs were? Okay.
I was asked a question and I went way above and beyond, I believe.
just as far as the job description in and of itself, if this position does qualify, I would not even suggest, I would state that they have to be a certified addictions counselor in order to be eligible for the job, considering that the primary purpose is for the opioid settlement. Speaking with you and in my comments in other meetings, I absolutely believe this position is necessary and vital, but just ensuring that we're in compliance with the actual program itself, we need to be doing more research for.
I'd be glad to discuss that. The use of these funds would also be necessary for seed money for this position, which would be buying certain items that are qualified under that. You're kidding yourself if you think you're going to fund this position with $60,000.
Correct. I also just wanted to make a comment. I'm on the 708 Mental Health Board, and we've been discussing the opioid settlement and that opportunity coming to the county for months and months and months. And I even had spoken to our administrator and suggested that the 708 Board be part of that discussion, since we have both substance abuse and mental health resources in our community as part of that board. So it surprised me, Sheriff Stoll, no offense, you did a fantastic job doing the research and reaching out to programs. It just, when funds come in, it seems like there's decision makers that are very controlled, as opposed to there being a larger discussion. I don't know if everyone else got this in their mailbox today, but it was interesting because it recognizes Rock County, Wisconsin for their use of the opioid settlement plan. And what they're using with the funds isn't what I'm bringing up. It's, I'll just read the two paragraphs that relate to what I just previously said. Now, the plan stresses increasing local treatments and services, providing assessments within the criminal justice system, and focusing on youth prevention. The Opioid Settlement Work Group initially presented the plan to the board in September 2022. The plan was built from various public outreach and listening sessions to gauge community needs, along with an existing county substance use assessment and interviews with key informants. I really think that when funds become available like that, whether it's ARPA, whether it's opioid settlement, that we could really do a better job of engaging our community in how we should use those funds, as opposed to just a small select group doing so. Thank you.
I will just address that real quick. Again, we've known about these funds coming in for quite some time, and nothing was done with that. When I became chairman, that was one of my first things I wanted to do in law enforcement is a primary use for those funds. So I went to Sheriff Stovall. This conversation has been going on about 60 days. So there's no decision, there's no action item here tonight. This is a county board decision. If the board feels that using these funds in this manner is not appropriate, it's up to the 16 of us. So no one has been excluded. And again, this money has been known about for a long time. Nobody said anything about it. I decided to take action on it.
Can I respond to
the
that?
board. If you feel the need to, yes.
Just quickly, I did bring it up multiple times, so to say that no one said anything would be an incorrect statement.
When was that?
I brought it up, I'd have to look, but in public comment, I made sure to note to Ms. Newcomer that I wanted it in public comment, that I believe the 708 board should be involved.
I'm not sure when that was, but thank you. Anything else, Ms. Anthony?
No, thank you.
Mr. Diddens?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stovall, I just want to commend you on this proposal that you put together. I mean, excellent. Thank you. So many times we get ideas thrown at us with no documentation, and you did go way above and beyond by providing this awesome packet. I recently just got my MSW, and no, I'm not applying for the job, but I've been working as a therapist. I was just looking through the job requirements, and I just wanted to throw out, I realize this is in the early stages and everything, but just wanted to throw out a few things. I think the $80,000 price point for salary is like right on the money. I think for $80,000 we can recruit like the best of our area. Like we can really get a hired gun at that price. If we were looking at $60,000 or something, I mean, it wouldn't even be worth it. And over $80,000 is probably not. I just don't know that would be necessary either. So I think $80,000 is great. I think the requirements though would need to be increased. Instead of a licensed social worker, I think it needs to be a licensed clinical social worker. or a licensed clinical professional counselor, because I think they need to be able to practice independently in the state of Illinois. So I think they need that extra license. And I just wanted to say too, even if we couldn't fund this position with the opioid funds, I think we should hire this position anyway. We have the money, this is necessary. This would be a huge win. I completely agree with what you're talking about. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that I think it was just a couple of years ago, but the Court Services Committee, when I was chairman, we had a lengthy discussion about what we could do to decrease gun violence and violence and recidivism in Stephenson County. And over 3 months, we had lengthy conversations, and we explored every option we could think of as a county board, as our department heads, and what can we do to reduce violence. And we came up with one thing, and it was put money into mental health. That was the one thing we could come up with. So I know the Court Services department heads are behind this big time. They've put a lot of thought into this for a long time, and this is fantastic.
Thank you.
Anything else for Sheriff Stovall? Mr. Frick.
Excuse me. I want to thank Mr. Stovall as well for the work that's done. And I think for our county, this is an important thing because we tend to be a group that wants to put out fires, and this is a way to get rid of the fuel before we put out a fire. And I think that's very important.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Sheriff Stovall.
Thank you.
Mr. Copeland, anything else out of your committee?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to administration. Mr. Joe Gersten, I believe you have an action item.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, we have one item tonight is approval of new salary for Chief County Assessor Angela Dieterman for $66,950. I think it was January we went and we had this review conversation about this a raise and we approved it at the board level unanimously, and then we found out that we need to bring it to the full board, so that's what we're doing here tonight. So this is a 3% raise for her. So I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
By Ms. Deininger. Is there any discussion on this? Mr. Hart?
Is this in addition to, I thought everybody got 3% across the board at the beginning of the year. Is that incorrect?
This is not an addition. This is the 3%.
This is the 3%.
This is the 3%. That's my understanding. Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. Thank you.
Ms. Newcomer, can you address that?
Ms. Dieterman has a contract and it was a performance-based.
Is your microphone on?
Sorry about that. According to Ms. Dieterman's contract, it's a performance-based increase. She does not get a COLA automatically. It's based on the annual assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we're talking about this, did we have the comparisons on like the average salary for this position throughout the state of Illinois or for similar counties? Was that part of the discussion? Because
I think it was at that time in January. I don't have that with me tonight.
Okay. The number seemed low to me still. I mean, doesn't seem like enough. I don't know. Yeah, I was just curious to hear the comparison. I think we lost our last assessor, chief county assessor. That was Ron Kane, right?
Right.
And I heard he went and made a lot more money at Ogle County, if I remember right. So 3%, I don't think it's enough. I wonder if this is on the table, if we don't get it right while we're doing it and pay this position what it needs to get paid.
You're free to make an amendment if you want.
That's without the numbers, I can't do it. So if I had to, it's my own bad, but I can't do it without the numbers. Thank you.
Mrs. Newcomer, do you want to address that as well?
As part of her contract, based on the assessment, it states in there a maximum of 3% can be given. And the base salary was determined through the UCCI salaries study and things based on experience 2 years ago when she signed the contract.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Hart, did you have anything else?
No, thank you.
Anyone else? Any other discussion? Mr. Whalen?
Mr. Chairman, we did get a report from UCCI recently that shows a lot of information about salaries throughout the state for different positions and things of that nature. I don't know if that's specific in there. I'm just saying for future reference sake, if folks haven't seen that yet, it's a pretty detailed report.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call roll on that, please?
Larry Jogers.
Aye.
Brooke Deininger.
Aye.
Scott Helms.
Aye.
Jackie DeMeester.
Aye.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
Mark Gibbons.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
Aye.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kirk Copeland.
Yes.
Adam Monteiro.
Aye.
16A, 0 nay.
All right, that passes. Thank you. Any other information, Mr. Jogers?
That's all at this time.
Thank you. Move on to court services. Mr. Bush, I believe you have an action item.
Yes, we have intergovernmental agreement with Kane County Juvenile Justice Center, which we've been having service with them since 2016, I think. It was a slight modification with the intergovernmental agreement on their part. They changed it as far as the insurance wise. Before it was $2 million, now it's $1 million. But that's on them. It's not with us. There's no financial bearing on the county and nothing like that. So therefore, I so move.
All right, thank you. There is a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mr. Hadley. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One no. That passes. Thank you. Any other information out of your committee, Mr. Bush?
Yeah, it was talked about with the circuit clerk. As most of you know, that she did receive a grant of over $380,000. Thanks to Mr. Louis, who she give credit to helping her to do some improvement with the different departments in the county. So congratulations on that part.
All right.
And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. We'll move on then to the nursing center. Ms. Baker, you have action items.
Yep. First up, we have approval of new claims for the nursing center. Tonight we have claims totaling the amount of $287,104.04. With that, I make a motion to approve new claims for the nursing center pending funding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hadley. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll on that?
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
Yes.
Mark Diddens.
Aye.
Tim Whalen.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
Aye.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kirk Copeland.
Yes.
Adam Monteiro.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
No.
Brooke Deininger.
No.
Scott Helms.
No.
Jackie DeMeester.
No.
$11A, 5 nay.
Okay, that passes. Your second item, please.
Next up is the approval of cost report engagement letter. This is an annual year-end engagement with Wifley to do our year-end cost report. So with that, I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
And Mr. Hadley, is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
One no. All right, your final action item, please.
Review and approval of an interim administrator. I will make a motion to approve hiring her. If I get a second, I will have TCM come up to explain how they found this person and why they feel we should hire her.
I second it.
All right, motion by Ms. Baker, second by Mr. Hart.
Mr. Filippo or Mrs. Norman, who would like to take this? Thank you.
There or here?
It's up to you. If you want to stay there, I'll turn the mic on.
Sure.
TCM placed an ad out on Indeed to look for both a full-time permanent administrator and an interim administrator, and we have gotten some applications back, some for interim, some for permanent, and at this moment in time, this snapshot in time, the only one that we felt was qualified was a woman named Ivy, who would be an interim administrator. She's been licensed since 2012. She's worked for both profit and nonprofit facilities. She's worked for some people that we know that have been in the industry for decades, and they swear by her that she is, she's a very good catch. She lives about 90 miles away from here, though, so that's why she's not willing to throw her hat in the ring as permanent administrator, but she is more than willing to help us out as interim while we continue to look for a full-time.
Mr. Filippo, how many days a week will she commit to the facility?
Physically in the facility Monday through Friday, and then of course an administrator's job is 24/7, so she'll be available 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
All right, thank you. Any questions or discussion? Mr. Whalen.
After going through the resume, Mr. Filippo, it seems like she's had a lot of turnover over time. Was that discussed with her in the interview?
Yes, she's made a semi-career out of being an intern, so it's by plan, by design, that's what she does.
Makes sense. But yet no one has been able to sit down with her and physically interview her to date, to my knowledge. You guys, if I remember right, there was a video conference with her because she's out of the country?
Correct.
But she has not had a sit-down interview with anybody on this board?
Correct.
Okay, just want to clarify that.
All right, Mr. Diddens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I heard in finance that, well, somebody asked if she was going to be here available tonight, and the answer was no. And I think the reason, we asked why, and the reason was because she was in Paris. So what? I mean, I'm sure she has one of these things. And I'm just wondering why she couldn't have come in remote. If it's because of the time change, obviously it's probably the middle of the night or something, 2:30
in the morning.
So, I think we're hiring this person for $208,000 and she's sleeping. That's all I got.
Any other comments or questions?
Can I make one rebuttal there?
Yeah, please.
$208,000 with no benefits is closer to $148,000 a year, which is the current budget. Mm-hmm. So I just want to throw that out there.
Ms. Anthony.
Mr. Filippo, can you explain the importance of having a licensed administrator in the building, please?
Sure. It's an Illinois Department of Public Health regulation. I think Ms. Newcomer called Public Health the other day and verified that. For every day the building doesn't have a licensed administrator, the problems and potential fines and liability will continue to add up. And if, God forbid, you ever had a liability claim at a time when you didn't have a licensed administrator in the building, you might as well kiss that claim goodbye. So it's very important to have a licensed administrator at all times.
Anything else, Ms. Anthony?
No, thank you.
Are you allowed by IDPH to operate a facility without a licensed administrator? Is there a window? They give you 30 days to get one, or if on day one there's no administrator? I find it hard to believe they would just fine the facility without an administrator. So they would let you operate without an administrator.
Yeah, no, you cannot operate without a licensed administrator. Most facilities are not county-owned, and they don't have to go through this process, and they go through a third party, maybe like you did with the last administrator, who you hired through a third-party company. So it's not hard to get a licensed administrator. It's harder to get a good one, but it's not hard to just get a body in there, and that's why public health doesn't give any leeway on that.
Mr. Whalen?
I want to come in agreement with Ms. Anthony that you guys did a very commendable job in finding this person. This individual seems highly qualified. But again, I should have saved my earlier comments for right now, in that it does show the fact that we need somebody that knows what they're doing on a full-time basis, not just a part-time basis, or having to pay extra money every month to do that, in my opinion. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Mr. Dittens.
This might be a question for Mr. Larson more than Mr. Filippo, but I'm just wondering, well, we have an action item on the agenda here, and we only have one applicant. I mean, do we have to, there's more than one?
Yeah, multiple applicants.
Okay. Well, still the same question. Do we have to hire somebody tonight? I mean, we're here to vote yay or nay. I mean, can we vote nay, or does this have to be a yes from everybody?
Choice is a constant. It's the consequences that vary. So, of course, you're free to vote no. If you do, I think Mr. Filippo has understated the potential danger to the nursing home. When I was reviewing the statute, whoever's running the nursing home is guilty of a crime. Not only are they guilty of a crime, but they're subject to fines of up to $10,000 a day. And if we run a nursing home without a licensed administrator, from my review of the statute, it looks like the state will cut off state and federal funding to that nursing home, which is, also very significant for obvious reasons. So, of course you have a choice, and, I can certainly understand everyone's concern about, only one applicant, no one's met her. It's a fairly high salary, but it's just one of those things that we're facing very significant consequences if we were running a nursing home without a licensed administrator.
Can I just finish? Thank you, Mr. Larson. So, next month, I think on the agenda, we're going to have some options to maybe sell the place, but we don't have the votes. It's not going to sell. How many votes do we need to not hire this administrator? And for me, I was basing my decision on keeping this nursing home open or selling it based on the professionals. Shannon and Mr. Filippo. And tonight I heard Shannon say that we should get rid of it. I mean, she's bailing. If we're going to get rid of the thing, this could be the opportunity. So if we vote no, does the place close down?
I asked Mrs. Newcomer to come up with a plan B in the event that this didn't pass tonight. She has reached out to Tobin and Associates, who this board has used previously. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, they said it could take anywhere from 48 hours to 4 weeks, 2 weeks, to find someone else to put in here. So I'm just putting that out there. I'm not recommending either or.
Yeah.
Anything else from you, Mr. Diddens?
No.
Okay. Miss Anthony?
Mr. Filippo, can you explain the role of TCM in overseeing the interim administrator? So the concern is that, she's walking in, we haven't met her, she doesn't know Stephenson Nursing Center. So what is TCM going to do to ensure that there's kind of a seamless transition in her, becoming an administrator that supports and keeps us in compliance like Shannon has been doing?
Right. Well, I'd like to state a little caveat before I answer that. And the real answer is we will do as much as the county allows us to do, because we've had some disagreements on the relationship between ourselves and Shannon and the county, even up to this moment. So our plan is to fully support that administrator with both clinical, financial, and administrative support.
And I just have one more follow-up comment in response to what Mr. Diddon stated. I think, you know, if Ms. Harris's statement to sell the nursing home was because of the way lack of cooperation from the county and the way that she was treated. So should we change as a board, that definitely would not be her position from having many conversations with her. But it was what I previously stated. So certainly I don't want those words to be misconstrued here tonight. Thank you.
Mrs. DeMeester?
What is the amount that the nursing home doesn't have to pay the bills we have right now?
Are you asking what the total claims are compared to money in the bank?
Yes.
As treasurer's here, are you willing to speak to that?
I can give you just those numbers. So the number that you heard tonight actually is lower than what they actually do have in the bank. There were some deposits made today. So the available cash after we take out outstanding checks and one prior commitment for the water heater is $181,268.56. The total claims, including what you just approved tonight, are $812,914.03.
Does that answer your question, Mrs.?
Yes.
Anything else? Okay, Mr. Jogerst?
Thank you, Chairman. I think we're kind of over a barrel here. I think I'm gonna have to vote yes on this. But I can see that this is gonna add to the pile of bills that we're gonna see every month that we are not able to pay. August 2021, I wrote about the fact that we need to sell this thing to keep it open. I think that still holds true. We've heard a lot of, I guess, promises about we're going to turn this thing around and everything is going to be wonderful, and I'm still here waiting. So I'm going to vote yes in this matter. I don't think we want to take that risk of fines and penalties and loss of revenue to the patients that are there. I don't think that's fair to them. But I think we need to think long and hard next month when we look at these offers and sell this thing. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hadley, you don't want to speak? Okay. Mr. Whalen?
Mr. Filippo. Sorry. Mr. Filippo. I had a question on the contract. Right now it is on a 30-day renewal process. It auto-renews every 30 days. Is that correct? From its initiation?
Correct.
Would, in your opinion, the client accept since we haven't met this person, we haven't had a chance to interview her as a board or get to know her at all, do you believe she would accept a trial 30-day period and then initiate a starting point once we've gone through a cycle of at least having her here and being able to talk with her and being somewhat comfortable with her running our nursing home?
I have no idea.
Okay. I just wondered if you had any idea on that at all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I do want to read an email that was sent by Mr. Remmers to Georgia Newcomer today. That apparently there has been reports of an odor at the nursing home for about a week. I said currently a plumber from Rockford was at the home. They're indicating that there's a probable sewer pipe breakage collapse under the dishwashing room.
Point of order. Does this have to do with what's on the table right now?
Your microphone's on. You want to repeat that?
Does this have to do with the interim administrator approval?
This has to do with Mrs. DeMeester's question about the outstanding claims and potential expenses as it pertains to payment to the administrator. So yes, and I will continue. The probable sewer pipe breakage collapse under the dishwashing room across the hall from the kitchen. They will probably need to get a plumber with a camera system to scope the pipes to confirm what the problem is. So to answer your question about pending claims, we have several capital issues that are not being addressed at this point, but those will have to be. Any other discussion? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote on this, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry, I apologize.
I'm just a little
confused. I'm comparing Ms. Gleason's resume with her LinkedIn profile, and things are not matching up. Are we sure? I mean, I just want to make sure that we vetted her properly.
I guess, Mr. Filippo, to my understanding, TCM did all the vetting, correct?
Yes.
You're the only institution that spoke with her?
Correct.
Okay. Can you answer her question?
We feel she's been vetted correctly, and we have references that are very strong from people we know for decades.
All right. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Nicole Baker.
Aye.
Steve Frick.
No.
Mark Diddens.
No.
Tim Whalen.
No.
Ronnie Bush.
Aye.
Samuel Newton.
Aye.
Luann Hayes.
No.
Casey Anthony.
Aye.
William Hadley.
Yes.
Jim Hart.
Yes.
Kurt Copeland.
Aye.
Adam Modero.
Aye.
Larry Jogers.
Yes.
Brooke Deininger.
No.
Scott Helms.
No.
Jackie DeMeester.
No.
Nine A, 7A.
Okay, that passes. The final item, the correspondence to committee was put on at my request. This was a document that was sent to me, addressed to myself, as well as the nursing home committee. There's nothing more to it. I just felt that the nursing home committee needed to see it, as well as the board. Anything else out of your committee?
Yes, census is at 49 with one in the hospital. And then I would just like to take this opportunity to thank Shannon for all her hard work and dedication that she has done at the nursing center. And I wish her the best of luck. We only got to talk a few minutes or a few months, but I do wish you the best.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to planning and development. Mr. Frick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one item on the agenda, which is a software program called iWork. What the program does is it makes the work for our zoning office work together better, so they have a better handle on where health applications are, where zoning permits are, where building permits are. And the only reason we're here this evening, it runs about $6,500 a year, but it does have $4,000 startup fee. That brings us over the $10,000 limit. This is all dollars that will come out of the zoning department. It has no effect on our budget whatsoever. Move to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second by Mr. Whalen? Is there any discussion on this? Mr. Hadley.
Yes, yeah, this is something that I think we really need, and I commend the zoning to put this together. But my question is, I know this is not coming out of the budget. This is coming out of her funds. Do we know how much money's in that fund?
Ms. Henning, would you like to address that? I think you mentioned that. Would you please come up? Sure. Thank you.
Currently, in a statement I received today and sent over to the finance director, there is $109,000 in there.
Okay, I'd like to add something. I'm glad you're doing this because this helps your office. With that kind of money, I'm just adjusting to the finance or to your committee. If we could get like a beginning balance each month.
Oh, sure.
And then what all bills that were paid and then an ending balance. I don't know if you can do that on Excel or anything.
We can do that with the monthly statement.
I mean.
Oh, sure, yes.
like, oh, we deposit this amount, it shows transparency.
Definitely.
And I think the board, I knew about the fund. It started with Mr. Groves and.
Before him even, yes.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about putting all the funds in to the general fund or something, but just out of transparency, I'm just suggesting, not telling you
No, I
if
agree.
it'd be nice.
Right. May I state something?
Yes.
Just so the board knows, this fund is also used to help my office. We have a very limited budget. We do not have a stationary. We do not have normal everyday things that other departments have. So this is used for that as well, as needed. Once we paid for my vehicle out of it, so that didn't come out of the general fund. Lawyer fees, if we have accrued of any lawyer fees in excess of anything, it comes out of that account as well. And if there is an excess, last year I think I put $30,000 into the general fund from it.
Anything else, Mr. Hadley?
No, thank you very much.
Any other board members for Ms. Henning before we excuse her? All right, thank you, Ms. Henning.
Thank you.
All right, so we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Frick, any other items out of your
I have no items at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much. We will move on to Public Works and Mr. Diddens.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can, if we can work the first three resolutions together, I will, or stop me if we can't. But HD 2306, HD 2307, and HD 2308 are all part of the road work, basically, that's going on this year. There is a total of $5.1 million of road work being done, and there might be more possibly, but I know there's at least that much. These are part of federal participation projects with a 2080 match. So the cost of the county is, approximately $1 million to get $5 million of work done. I just wanted to commend Dale Rasmussen for doing such a fantastic job of planning our road projects and the maintenance. And using federal funds. He's super efficient and amazing. We're lucky to have him. This is $5 million going into the roads. So that's HD 2306, 07, and 08, and I move to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second by Mr. Jogurst? Is there any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No, 1 nay. All right, your second your second item, please.
Okay. HD 2309 is adoption of a qualification-based selection process for procurement of professional services for Stephenson County. This is basically some housekeeping. We should have this in place, this agreement, but this process, but we don't. And Dale, put this together for us. Basically, this allows us to use a qualification-based selection process for engineering instead of being, more or less forced to take the low bidder. So I move to approve HD 2309.
All right, is there a second by Mr. Modero? Is there any discussion on this item?
Is this purely?
Just a minute, Mr. Hart, let me get your microphone on. Go ahead.
Is this purely for engineering services?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Mr. Diddens, I believe you have one more item.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joint agreement between IDOT and Stephenson County to repair Good Neighbor Route. Again, Dale Rasmussen, kudos. He realized that once they were wrapping up the Cedarville Bridge project on Highway 26, that there was no Good Neighbor Route agreement in the contract. So he contacted IDOT and asked them to provide money to repair the route that went around the bridge, and they agreed to cut Stephenson County a check for $50,000. So I move we approve. Yeah, nice job, Dale.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second by Mr. Jogurst? Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Any other information out of your committee?
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Diddens. We'll now move on to public comment. Please come up to the microphone, turn that on. Please state your name.
Shannon Harris, Stephenson Nursing Center Administrator. I'd like to read an email from Ms. Lou Ann Hayes to a member of the public, where she states, I am concerned about the residents and their care at Stephenson County Nursing Home. I am concerned that they owe their previous food vendor over $200,000 and the vendor would not fill a stopgap until the new vendor starts because of the non-payment, i.e. no food service for 4 days, ! I would like to ask Ms. Lou Ann Hayes, prior to sending out emails, it would be beneficial for all of the board to ask the administrator what's happening, because your constituents out in the public see that you just wrote, we didn't have a food vendor for 4 days. No matter what any of you guys think about me, there is no way in hell that I would allow my residents not to have food for 4 days. So I encourage all of you, if you have questions, ask the professionals. Don't just get behind the keyboard and start typing away. And tonight, at my going away party that you guys all got an invite to, you know how many Republicans came? 1. No emails, no texts, no anything. Not even the county administrator could show up, who I directly report to. So I think that just reiterates the bullying, the harassing, and the intimidation. And I am happy I'm gone.
Any other public comment?
I'd like to make a comment.
You'll need to do it up there, but Mr. Klein was already up. Do you mind yielding to him first?
Hi, Ed Klein again from rural Freeport. I would like to read you a passage out of the county code on county homes. It's section 5-2101. I can give you a copy if you want to see it. Admission of persons unable to purchase care and maintenance. Any infirm or chronically ill resident of the county who is unable to purchase care and maintenance in the county home shall be admitted upon the order of the supervisor of general assistance of the local government unit in which he has residence. Obviously, that sounds like it's pretty old, because it is pretty old. County homes have been around forever, and somehow it's easier for people to think about roads and law enforcement and everything else this county does, but when it comes down to a county home that takes care of people at the end of life, you don't want to do it. I just don't understand. There's a definite, and I'm not going to convince you, I absolutely am not going to convince you, because I think there are some people who actually have empathy toward the elderly, and I think there's some people that just don't really care, and somehow somebody else is going to take care of it. I don't see that there's anything wrong with this county home. I don't see that there's anything wrong with our DCM management company taking care of it for us. We do not expect anyone in this room to take care of the sheriff's department. We happen to elect the sheriff to do it. We don't expect anybody in this room to take care of Mr. Larson's position, because he is trained in what he's doing. So why is that hard to figure that we have to hire a management company for the nursing center when he's being successful? I was extremely upset at the earlier comments that Mr. Diddens made, that there were several people that came up with total misinformation. They have no idea what's been going on lately, and yet they came in here spewing stuff as if they're experts. And you have got to come to the meetings. If you've heard what Mike says, we are so close to where we need to be. And somehow you just can't wait. You can't wait to sell it. I don't understand it. I think it's a great place. you guys don't think it's a great place, I don't know how we bridge that gap. Because until that's bridged, even if it doesn't get sold this time, it's not like the new administrator is going to have a really good time. I mean, they're still going to have an issue because they're not getting support of the board. Thank you.
Three minutes, Mr. Hart.
I'm afraid I'm going to echo.
Make sure the green light's on.
I'm afraid I'm going to echo some of what Mr. Klein just said, but nor do I understand why we're hiring a management company and we don't take their advice, and we seem to fight them every step of the way. That doesn't make any sense. We hire other professionals, we hire a risk manager, and yet we seem to have a problem with this one professional company. If you're looking at me blankly right now, I don't know why you are, in accordance with what your comments have been and your votes have been. I've heard a lot of careless, inaccurate crap from both the public and the people on this board. So much so that I heard a lot of things about the last 15 years. The last 15 years, how bad the census has been. The last 15 years, how much money we've lost. I just received a report from the finance department. It looks like 1, 2, 3, we have 4 years of losses in the last 16. As far as the census goes, the census looks really fantastic until the COVID. I think this board has mismanaged this nursing home and continues to do so. I'd like to see us take our foot off the throat of the nursing home. One of the things that TCM just went through with us last month, and this seems to be lost on everybody, is that we took a 57% increase in what the Medicaid rates are. So this other stuff that I hear about, there's 4 other homes that will accept these poor people or Medicaid, that's crap. That's just not the way it works. You shake your head all you want, Tim. It's not, it doesn't work.
It's not true.
It is true.
We're not going to have
And
back
here's
and forth
the
on
numbers.
public comment.
And you know what? Why don't we have TCM clarify that for us? It's not my opinion. It's their opinion.
Gentlemen,
I've been through it as
we
well.
can have a back and forth in public comment. If you'd like to speak in public comment, you may.
I was until I was interrupted.
You still have time, Mr. Hart.
I'd like to have TCM address this again, because apparently that didn't get through. And I don't want to hear about your experience with grandparents or parents that had the money to go into a nursing home. That's different than people that don't have the money to go in initially. I hope you would concede that, because that is factual. And the facts I have about Medicare and Medicaid are informed over 40 years of risk management and insurance professional experience. But I just think it's really disgusting, the attitude that I see. But as was said when we had a change of leadership here, you know, I'd like to just look at the facts rather than the emotions of this. I think there are a lot of people that are dug in one way or the other. Let's uncover the facts together. Thank you.
Would you like to come up and state your name, please?
Hi everyone, Kathy DeHaven. I wasn't prepared to make a statement tonight at all, but when Mr. Diddens brought up his comments under the Public Works, specifically HD 2307, the bridge replacement on Cedarville Road, I just wanted to mention to you guys and encourage you, while I know that the nursing home is a huge to-do, please be diligent in your continuing work with the roads and bridges in our county, because last night, some of you may or may not be aware, it hit the news last night, there was a garage fire south of Davis on Cedarville Road, fully engulfed, that was melting the house sitting next to it. Some of our fire protection districts could not get to the fire in a direct route down Rock City Road across Cedarville, because there is a bridge to the east of that with a I believe it's a 10-ton weight limit, and our trucks could not cross the bridge and had to find an alternate road through the townships to get to the fire. It's a problem. It's a problem. So while I know that the project to the west of that is important, Cedarville Road is a major thoroughfare, east-west thoroughfare in our county. Stay after it and stay on it and get these roads and bridges fixed for us, especially when there are people that need it and are in crisis. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
My name is Lori Youngblood. I'm from Freeport, Illinois. First off, I'd like to thank Shannon Harris for her service. She has been an example of leadership, and Stephenson County is at a loss. Management companies aren't uncommon in successful businesses. We are at a benefit to have TCM. When they came on, and since then, they've collected over $3 million for this county. When they came on, they saved the county $300,000 right away from a $400,000 fine that this board was willing to pay. That has already covered their first year. The discussing of needing a new administrator wouldn't be necessary if y'all didn't bully Shannon. This board has spent more time and more energy trying to get Walnut Acres to fail than just follow the advice of the industry professionals, which no one on the board is. To anyone listening to the entirety of this meeting, let it be noted, many of those who spoke negatively about Walnut Acres in the opening public comment left shortly thereafter. Most of the shortcomings of Walnut Acres are due to the contrary and at times disruptive behavior of members of this board. Let it be noted that some of those who spoke earlier were on the board, and the 10 current board members in this room have contributed to the disagreement and recommendations by the professionals or have put barriers in place to have Walnut Acres fail. It is not Walnut Acres itself which is failing, it's thriving per TCM last month in the February meeting. It is the members of this board that is causing Walnut Acres to fail.
Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we will move on to new business. The approval of release of mortgage. Ms. Newcomer, would you please address this? Is the green light on?
The document before you that was emailed out was prepared by Mr. Larson.
Is your microphone on? It's... You try turning them all off and turning it on again. Try now. Is the red button pushed? I don't know if that matters. I have it lit.
There you go.
There you go.
The document in front of you was prepared by Mr. Larson a little over a month ago, kind of in correlation with the county clerk and recorder. We were notified by Security First Title Company that they were trying to close on a property that had a mortgage lien held in the name of the county. The county clerk's office spent time researching, called the state, as well as my office, and we were able to locate some information that showed that Mr. Russ Mulnix was the county sponsor on a program called the SRPP to provide funds for low-income rental properties to be refurbished and brought up to code. It was a forgivable loan, and in all of the research calls to the state documents in the administrator's office, we have no record of this person receiving any funds or paying any funds. However, they cannot complete the recording of the deeds and close out the escrow through the title company without this release being signed. So after speaking with Mr. Larson, we decided the best way to do this would be to present it to the board for approval.
Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Frick. Is there a second? By Mr. Whalen. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Mrs. Newcomer. Last but not least, we have the approval of Allies in Agricultural Resolution. Madam Clerk, would you be willing to read that, or Mr. Frick, would you like to read that and bring members of your coalition up front?
I have it here for you, Mr. Frick.
Mr. Frick, we have it up here.
Sure. So you guys want to come up? I know there's a couple. Maybe not.
Came all this way and sat through all this, you might as well come up, be recognized.
The resolution before us tonight is a resolution that's been passed, a resolution that's been passed in several other counties in the state of Illinois, just to signify that government officials in our county understand and recognize agriculture's importance to the county. It reads as follows. Whereas Illinois is home to more than 71,000 farms and 96% of them are family-owned and a third of them include livestock. And whereas Stephenson County accounts for, that's in Illinois, that's 71,000 farms. Stephenson County accounts for 965 of those farms, some of them represented here tonight. Agriculture also supports 5,618 jobs, which accounts for an estimated 23% of the total jobs in the county. And agriculture and related industries generate total sales or output estimated at about $1.9 billion. I'm not going to read on any further, but I would just entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
You're entertaining a motion, or you're going to make?
I make the motion.
Thank you,
sorry.
Mr. Frick. Second by Mr. Jogerst. Is there any discussion on this? Mr. Frick, would you want to introduce the gentlemen that are up here?
We have we have a couple of our board members here. This is Mr. Earl Klinger from the east side of the county, over towards Pecatonica, actually. And this is Josh Endress, and he's over on the western side of the county, my Pearl City.
And your executive director, I believe, is also here.
And I have Victoria. We're glad she could be with us here tonight, too. So thank you very much.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Hi. How are you?
All right.
I'm all right.
Thank you, gentlemen. We do have one more item that's not on the agenda. I asked Mr. Newton if he would please just briefly speak about his UCCI trip in February, as well as his NACO trip to Washington, D.C. If you can just give us an update as the county's representative. Let me get your microphone on. Sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as many of you know, I serve on the UCCI board as an executive board member, and I serve at the pleasure of this county and Chairman Helms and Mr. Hadley. I thank God for you guys who have let me serve that on that committee. As a executive board member, once a year we have what's called a legislative conference, and it's held in Washington, D.C. And we travel there as executive board members to represent the more than 80 counties throughout the state. And so while we're there, we also attend certain meetings to talk about policies that we hand over to the federal government that help with a lot of legislative issues throughout the country. I particularly sit on technology and broadband is a big part. That's what it is broadband. And so in that particular subcommittee as it is, I'm elected by the NACO, which is the National Organization of County Boards. There are more than 3,000 counties that belong to the association. I think a number of years ago, I began to speak a lot about going to NACO because there are just so many opportunities to find out about different areas. Some of you all have experienced that, and even our previous funding opportunities, such as the ARPA funds, and some of those were direct results of NACO and our participation, making sure that funding, nothing against our state government, I'm not downing them or even our representatives, but in this particular instance, this was one of the first times that we were able to get money to bypass the state and go straight to the counties. And that's what NACO does. They're looking at making sure the counties get direct funding, because every one of you are sitting around the table know what goes on in our community really better than a lot of federal people do, and senators and such. And so that is what we do. We do policy, and so in the particular one that I'm in, which is technology, those policies that we create go on to the federal government for implementation. And so one of our big projects right now is broadband initiative. A lot of grants are coming out. You've seen a lot in the last few years, and particularly 5G. And so I go there once a year to set the policies that we turn over to people in Capitol Hill to make rules and policies for the grants that you see coming through for local government. And so again, I serve at your discretion. I really appreciate the opportunity to be involved with UCCI, and more so the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. and be a part of what we do with broadband throughout America. So those are some of the things I do when I go to Washington. So once a year I go there. We have a national or a yearly annual conference, and UCCI is working on trying to make it an opportunity for the counties to have an opportunity to go and visit those NACO conferences, where it's something we've been working on for a while, because within those there are dozens of opportunities to meet with legislators and federal people to get grants, and it's more than one person can do. And I'm hoping that we're successful at making that happen. We've gone to Washington, D.C. privately to meet with our congressmen and different ones to keep us relevant with what's going on in our area. And while I was there, I did meet with Darren LaHood and his staff. I also had an opportunity to meet our freshman representative Sorensen and his staff. And so my conversation with them was to make sure that we get grant opportunities to continue the road work and some of the things that we're doing right here in Stephenson. I mean, I'm from Stephenson, so no, nothing against the other counties around here, but I do represent them as well. But really, the idea of having an opportunity to bring money and make sure that the staff in Washington looks out for what's going on here is one of my major projects when I get to go. So thank you, Chairman. We've got a UCCI event coming up. I don't know if you wanted to mention that. Next week is a legislative session, and if you haven't, please talk to the chairman. There's an opportunity to be involved and to talk to some of our legislators at the state level about funding and other things that we do in Stephenson County. So I'll leave that in your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I mailed that out to all county board members last week. Miss Anthony, Mr. Hart, Miss Baker, Miss Newcomer, and myself. In addition to, you'll be down there as well.
I will.
Yep, absolutely. All right, well, thank you, Mr. Newton. Any questions for Mr. Newton? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? By Ms. Hayes and second by Ms. Deininger. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.